I told you was going to get a kick out of that. Project Janus continued, and then we're going to move into Atlantis and finally end up into the music industry, pimps and whores, and I do mean literally pimps and whores in the music business, not like you think, not the allegorical, metaphorical pimp and whore of the music business, but actual pimps and whores in the Motown roster. We're going to deal with that just a little bit. Like I said, it was a video that already brought that to my attention, and they dealt with it more in depth, so I'm not going to regurgitate. But let's look again at Project Janus, the twin deity, the duality, the Greco-Roman deity. It's all Greek to me. Has to do with confusion, that duality, that double-mindedness, a double-minded man being unstable in all his ways, as we find in the book of James 1 and 8. Janus, the twin deity. We talked all about it. It has to do with the many faces, like the He-Man doll, or changing faces, like the Isley brother, like Ron Isley's proteges. Well, when we get into that pimp thing, you might think about them a little bit differently. But again, you got the Face Off movie with Travolta and Nicolas Cage, two Project Janus candidates if ever I've seen them. I would bet one of them is a Gemini. But Nicolas Cage, he's related to Francis Coppola, and then you have John Travolta, who's been in this thing since Welcome Back, Kotter, and is a high-ranking member in the Scientology camp, and Scientologist L. Ron Hubbard was a contemporary and friend of both Jack Parsons and a devout student of Aleister Crowley. So you got them in Face Off. Again, these are victims. The two faces, the two persons that they used in Facebook, in the movie Social Network, which was about Facebook. Instead of using twin actors, they used two actors that did not look anything like one another, and they had one actor's face sampled, video sampled, and placed on top of the other actor's face, as opposed to using twins. Why do this? Why spend the money to do this? You got to pay two guys anyway. Well, because again, this had to reflect Project Janus, its importance, the forward, backward, the duality and possession, the creation of two persons, the split personality mind, split personality, in order to create one that can be hollowed out and filled with a demon. So you got the split personalities of Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. You got the split personalities of Eminem, which is another duality name, M and M, making him another victim. Slim Shady and Eminem. Again, possession. You got Nicki Minaj and Roman Polanski, which is a playoff of Roman Polanski, who was the director of Rosemary's Baby, a movie all about how the satanic agenda is carried out and how one has to not only offer blood sacrifices and sometimes cause deaths of individuals in order to trade their lives for power from the demonic realm to get somewhere, to shoot you up to the top. Shoot me up, baby, as Prince said. Or you are my starship. You are my starship. Let's take me up tonight. So again, they're taking you up by way of these spirits. You have so many examples of how it's done, and again, Rosemary's Baby is an excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, do try to find it. It's getting harder and harder to find. But this duality is how possession is achieved in the entertainer. The entertainer then, filled with the demon, performs in front of you. The demon is an extra-dimensional energy being, and its energy is transferred by way of the form of media into you. You are a vessel, and it seeks a vessel to reside in. Reference the movie Fallen. So, in Simone Simon, Simone Simon, star of the cult classic Cat People, you have a classic example of an MK Ultra sex kitten slave operating under beta programming. Beta programming is supposed to be what the sex kittens operate under, primarily the women. I'd say primarily the women in porn. My spirit always tells me that some of these top women in porn are passed around the government, just as the Hottentot Venus once was. So also is the modern day porn star along the lines of Cherokee. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Obamas don't deal with the sex magic and the porn industry as well. And I put that on everything. But again, you have this duality, this double thing going on. We went down through the meaning of Project Janus. It's all Greek to me. Janus is a Greco-Roman twin deity. Look at the first one to get more on exactly how we broke that word down. But again, the term is all Greek to me, stands for confusion. And it's about confusion, creating confusion by way of duality and possession. So for this installment, we're going to start off with a little piece of scripture. Oh yes, I wanted to show this too on Mary Mary, because folks may be upset about Mary Mary. Well, they sing gospel. Well, 1 Samuel 15 and 23. Again, Mary Mary is the devil's way of showing you he is in the mix, and he must do that in order for the game, quote unquote, to be fair. In order for you to willingly choose, he has to mark his products, his peons, his minions, so that you see clearly that they are his, and then you choose them, so he can play his role as the accuser and have the legal right to invade in your life. He can go to the Most High, quote unquote, and say, hey, listen, I showed that it was me. It's not my fault they didn't take heed. So 15 and 23, Mary, Mary, quite contrary. To be contrary means to be rebellious, stubborn, with a contrary woman. Some down south folks, my grandma would use that word to describe my Taurus, the bullheadedness, my stubbornness. She would say I was contrary. And Mary, Mary, quite contrary. 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. So all my wise and civilized kings, avoid being contrary and honorary, like Mary Mary, quite contrary. My queens as well. That goes for you. But we're going to talk about my main man, my favorite soul singer, Marvin Gaye. Ironic, they call him soul singer. And it's interesting, in Marvin's case, you will see Project Janus was all around him. Could this be why he had such a hard time conforming, as it's constantly reminded to us in the autobiography co-written with David Ritz, Divided Soul? Okay, we're going to look a little bit right now at Matthew 16 and 26. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So Marvin Gaye was the number one, soul singer. He made soul music. And his autobiography was called Divided Soul, Duality. Right there, the title, Project Janus. Born April 2nd, died April 1st. Again, more duality, the birth date and the death date. More duality. His first marriage was to Anna Gordy. The name Anna, right along with the Hannah Montana example we saw before. Another forward, backward spelling. I forget the name of what it was called. Some kind of gram. I forget it. I should have looked it up before I did this video. But hey, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? What they call these words that are the same spelling forward and backward, like Xanax. Escapes me. Oh Lord. But anyway, his first marriage was to Anna. Now, if that ain't Janice enough, his second marriage was to that's right, Janice, and that union produced Nona Gay. Now, that's two marriages, and of course, two for duality, more duality. Now, I'm sorry, it hurt me, so don't you think you're going to be more hurt than I was. I was a Marvin Gaye fan, and a fan addict is where you get the word fan from. You shouldn't be an addict or a fan, so don't be a fanatic. But I was very surprised and distraught as a young guy who was looking for people to look up to, mentors in the music business to model myself after. And I thought I had found one in Marvin Gaye until I realized he cross-dressed like his father, which is a struggle in duality, male and female. Yes, he did. Read the autobiography. He is actually putting on some women's clothes or lingerie while he's talking to David Ritz in part of this book, which was a book compiled from many interviews and hours spent intimately with Marvin Gaye, and we're going to see exactly how intimate by the end of this page. He battled with both the sexual and spiritual, more duality, and as an Aries, he battled with the duality, the two horns of love and war. Now, his second marriage to Janice, okay, produced Nona Gay, who was once signed to Prince. Prince was also a Gemini, like Pac, like Biggie, like Cube, and Controversy. The song Controversy is the epitome of Project Janus. I said in my documentary in the segment on Prince that if Project Janus could boast of having one perfect accomplishment or one prized brainwashing accomplishment, it would be Prince, the epitome of Project Janus. The controversy, am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? And do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? It was controversy and duality all throughout the whole song. And it is through duality that the possession is achieved. Okay? Now, Prince was, of course, a Gemini who once signed Nona Gay, but also who once married twins. Now, I remember when it first came out in the press, it said that he married those twin girls that you find in the sex ritual video for Get Off, with the mystical number 23 figuring prominently in the hook. But as the story got spun, it ended up, no, he didn't marry both of them. He married one of them, Mate, or Mete, the one whose name was spelled like mate. And there was so much weird stuff going on around Prince that I did not understand until I began to overstand Project Janus. He was a victim also of Project Janus. And this is where his confusion and duality and possession in his early years came from. Not just controversy, but the brainwashing LP, Dirty Mind. Think about the name. Now, ironically, Nona is an actress along the lines of the way Hayden Christensen is an actor. He played Anakin Skywalker. They only star in certain illuminated special roles. The roles that you find in B or 13 movies. And the 13 represents the rebellion, which is as of witchcraft, the rebellion like witchcraft that we just read about. Now, Marvin claimed to be tormented by dreams of some mystic, elusive woman. You can find in the first lyrics of I've Got My Music. Dreams of you, dreams of you. You know, he's talking about his dreams all throughout the book, Divided Soul, which I read cover to cover. My man DPZ gave me that way back when we was doing 3-card Molly. You will find the energy that I got from reading about Marvin and listening to his music and getting high, getting high and reading occult books all at the same time. It imprinted itself on Midnight Man and Wine and Weed, certainly, but just in the general feel of the 3-card Molly project that I produced and we circulated throughout the Detroit underground hip hop scene. And it had a great effect. My line, no East Coast accent, touched many MCs in Detroit, especially in that community who thought that a mark of skill was rapping with an East Coast accent. And I digress, but let's go. Two-timed. He two-timed More Duality on Berry Gordy's sister, Anna. Now, if you see the cover of In Our Lifetime, perfect picture of duality, the two Marvins playing chess with one another. Again, all throughout his career, you find this struggle with Project Janus, and this is why that devil, David Ritz, decided to call the autobiography Divided Soul. I would bet money that was not Marvin's choice of title. Marvin Gaye was dead at the end of the autobiography, which meant that David continued to write after Marvin's death, and he gained a lot of things from Marvin, and toward the end they even fought over sexual healing. But let's continue, which it says that David Ritz co-wrote with Marvin Gaye. Look at the credits. I had to because I couldn't believe this, especially when I saw David Ritz on TV on some Marvin Gaye special, and David Ritz seemed to me to be an obvious homosexual. Now that, along with Marvin Gaye cross-dressing in front of him, was enough to almost do me in. But again, see the cover of In Our Lifetime. Now we got to say too, Marvin, in his fighting, put out some albums that were anti-Illuminati and anti-Luciferian to the core, such as What's Going On and In Our Lifetime. Both of these two albums I found no guile in. Guile means deception. Now they say that Smokey came out to Hawaii to get Marvin when Marvin ran from the business and wasn't never coming back. He was an Aries and stubborn, and they say, you know, their story is he was blowed and coked up every day, living in his van, still trying to record on the beach on Hawaii, talking about he was going to be a monk. Well, Smokey sent his slick, well, Barry sent Smokey slick butt out there, and I believe the number was $13,000. Small time change, I remember, for an artist of Marvin's caliber, but he gave him $13,000, if I'm remembering correctly from the book, in order to entice him back. And Marvin was getting low on dough, so he took it. Now, on the low key, I can tell you for a fact. Now, we live in Detroit. You hear all sorts of things. You know people whose relatives knew people, and, you know, certain things you know are true and you can vet them, and you find out it's true, and it's just something that only people in the hometown know. Well, Smokey people was involved in some gangster stuff, and not only did you find pimps in Motown, but you found dope men too. And the fact that Marvin was struggling with drugs, and that Smokey had this bread, and that Smokey's people is connected to big timers out west, you can make some more assumptions. Tammy Terrell, she came from Scepter and Wand Records, which was a label out of California that produced also Ashford and Simpson and the Whispers, who we spoke of on the first one, where Ashford and Simpson wrote all of them marvelous Tammy and Marvin songs that my mama and your mama and them like. It Takes Two, Baby, and Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and all of that was written by Yes, Ashford and Simpson, who happened to be the first group that the Most High revealed the songwriter's secret or the witch language to me through. It was It Seems to Hang On by them. And you should look that up, listen to it for yourself, see if you can hear it. It Seems to Hang On by Nick and Val. Also alumni of Scepter and Wand. The Whispers too. Okay, now Nick Ashford basically said that Tammy Terrell was a freak. Now I maintain she was an MK Ultra butterfly who suffered headaches. Uh, Gordy got her when she was very young, 15 or 16. He changed her name, changed the Y to an I in her name, changed her last name. I forget what her original last name was. All that's on my documentary, so I'm just running through this now. But Tammy Terrell was one of the first sacrifices that was publicized in the music business. And it devastated Marvin Gaye that he had any knowledge of what was going on or was involved in any way, shape, or form. Their very being put, the very fact that they was put together was part of Project Janus. And don't look like we're gonna make it. Don't look like we're gonna make it. But we're at 21 minutes already, and I got a whole nother page, boy, when we get into this next part. But we're gonna finish the Marvin part here for sure. So Marvin was an Aries. Tammy was a Taurus. You got the first male sign of the zodiac and the first female sign of the zodiac. They did duets. You got, again, more Project Janus duality. We're looking for this duality of Project Janus. The Aries sign, the triangle pointing down, or a male sign, and the Taurus sign, the circle with the horns, the triangle with the horns, the circle with the horns, the circle representing the womb, Taurus the first female where you get Mother's Day, Aries the first male. And again, we got more signs of Project Janus. Now, their duets were written, produced by Nick and Val, as we said. Now, Valerie, also on the Project Janus tip, on the double personality, split personality tip, Valerie, low-key, did Tammy's vocals over as she began to get too sick to perform and to record. Valerie, according to Marvin, did finish Tammy's vocals, according to Marvin Gaye himself. Now, Valerie, for some reason, denies, as if Marvin don't remember right, or he was doped up, or, she gives no good excuse for why she denies that she did, but she denies that she did, and experts who listen say that they can tell the difference in the quality of the voice, and they can tell that it was indeed Valerie Simpson who finished up them songs for Motown. Perhaps it was in their contract that they couldn't tell, or maybe it was more heinous than that. I maintain that what I found in my spirit, what I feel in my spirit, is that Nick and Val were the ones truly behind Tammy's sacrifice. Now, Tammy suffered, they said, a brain aneurysm, brain tumor, something causing her frequent headaches. I maintain it was the mind control. And, at the time that of Donny Hathaway's death, he told James M. Toomey of M. Toomey Juicy Fruit, Juicy, with Notorious B.I.G. sample. James M. Toomey says that Donny Hathaway said that these white folks was using a machine, now this is what Donny Hathaway said, was using a machine to steal my ideas and mess with my mind. Now, I maintain, I don't know if it was truly a machine, but the way that the devil likes to play with your mind and cause you illusions, or cause you to have a paranoia, I believe that it was truly some satanic influence going on, and the mind control that can be produced by a coven concentrating upon you. Something else that you will find in the movie Rosemary's Baby, if you can get it. And I maintain this was the source of Tammy's headaches. She was with Scepter and Wand. That's the royal scepter and the magic wand. She was with Scepter and Wand from the time she was a girl. I'm talking about 14 or 15 when she had her first hit, and then went to Motown after that around 1966 when Nick and Val signed to Motown, which was the Occult Year One Lucifer's Year One, 1966, when Nick and Val came to Motown. I think Tammy was already there. She'd already been there a year. I think she came in 65. 65, 11. Again, you got the duality thing going on. The Aries, the Taurus, first male, first female, male or female. The duets, duality, divided soul. Marvin left the business distraught by Tammy's death. Now, he refused to return several times and kept going back. This is perhaps because of the threats that they make on your life. You are worth a lot of money to the business, and you can't just walk away and take that money with you. Hence Tupac's death. So Marvin returned the first time after Tammy's death, and after saying he would never come back, after being PO'd at how Motown treated her during her last days of intense sickness, and the fact that Tammy's mother would not let any of them Motown jokers come to the funeral except for Marvin, who eulogized her. So Marvin and Tammy's mother both felt some type of way about what was going on behind the scenes. And this is why Marvin constantly kept trying to get out. So he had to return in a concert in D.C., government grounds, on May 1st, or Beltane, the Day of Blood Sacrifice, Balls Day. Now again, like Gunny Hathaway, he said that people was trying to kill him. Now, why did he finally get his industry respect and his Grammy for Sexual Healing, which he penned with David Ritz? He ended up getting 2 that night. Duality again. Weeks after the All-Star Game. Of course, I said he penned it with David Ritz, who he cross-dressed in front of and who appeared to me to be openly gay. Now, that's his business, his prerogative. But again, we know Marvin Gaye's image was one thing, and then the reality, as we see, was obviously something else. Now, his brother Frankie, another piece of duality, doubled for Marvin when Marvin would have stage fright. Again, another duality. He seemed to be this brave, manly man. He tried out for the Detroit Lions, or wanted to try out for the Detroit Lions. Him and Mel Farr was tight, but he was so terrified of going on stage at times, his brother Frankie Gaye would go out on stage for him. And one of the most dubious things, again, is his birth and death date, which we all know is a very fishy thing. The father who brought him into this world also took him out. Another thing of duality. That's a duality statement. I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. Again, it's got to do with double-mindedness. That's double-minded. The very statement itself. We understand where he might have been coming from on another level, but again, we're dealing with Project Janus and how it surrounded Marvin Gaye, whose autobiography was entitled Divided Soul. And that is exactly what Project Janus is designed to do, divide your soul and create an empty space in you for Lucifer to fill with one of his demons. Again, the Facebook reference, split personality of Facebook. Very few people use their real name on Facebook. You're another person on Facebook. Most people, most of you. Now, if we can do this in 2 minutes, we bad. Okay, Atlantis. We're gonna start with it anyway. Atlantis. Now, this is for my peoples from Mumford, who sent me some information about Atlantis. They claim they found Atlantis. Well, I had to jot down some things. Okay, see if we can get this screen here. Voyage to Atlantis by the Isley Brothers. We're going to refer to that. But first, Manly P. Hall's Masonic view. The Masonic view of Atlantis is this: the remade New World, the New World Order, the remake that they're looking for is one that will be equivalent to Atlantis, and they code name it Atlantis. They say that this new world will be a perfect world like it was in the ancient times, and they call it Atlantis, which is where you get Voyage to Atlantis by the Isley Brothers. Now, the sources of the story about Atlantis being found come from BBC News, and BBC News owns Demon Music, one of the companies that threatened me, as a matter of fact. Giant Sphinx discovered among Bermuda Triangle pyramids. Now, the name that really stuck out to me, do we have to even do a third video, was Suzanne Lai. Okay? This is a lie. And this is part of programming us, especially, when I say us, I mean everybody, but I mean black folks too, programming us to accept New Age philosophies and theories. There will be a part 3. Shalom.